are 3 words that I want you to memorize. Don't just market what you have. Market what will close the sale. See, now it's not showing me those other lines. And brands are built on product, not marketing. Mahone Bay works because the product's there to back it up. Same with Lunenburg, same with a lot of these places. You know, Jefferson, Texas, in the northeast corner of Texas, town of 2,500. It is the antique capital of Texas. You know what? They have an antique dealer for every 20 residents. And people drive 4 hours from Dallas to go out there for their antiquing. And because they're driving 4 hours for their antiquing, they're spending the night. Now they're the official B&B capital of Texas. What's your niche? Jackson, Wyoming, population of 12,000. I mean, I could do this in Canadian town. You know, the home of Western living, Western art. Town, by the way, the population is 12,000 within a 150-mile radius, not kilometers. Their population is 180,000. That's it. And yet they have 110 galleries and they host nearly 4 million visitors a year. You know, it's all the Aboriginal art and sheepskin rugs, all that Western, you know, mountain kind of living. That's what they're about. They have a focus. And by the way, tourism brands are built on things to do, not things to look at. Successful brands are never built on history. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean that your history is not important, that you don't promote it. You know, I got a lot of flack in the Eastern Shore because the guy that produces the Stan Rogers Festival in Canso said, you should be talking about us. We're a demand generator for the Canso area, for the Stan Rogers Festival. I said, so what's the demand generator for Canso the other 363 days of the year? And so sometimes hanging your hat on these things is, and how do you monetize it? Remember, it's built on product. And if you build it on history and you say, once we've been there, we've done it, now what? How many times have you guys been to the Wild Karting Museum in Bridgewater? I bet you everybody's been there once. Now, some of you haven't been there, but how many of you have been there 3, 4, 5 times? Raise your hands. See what I mean? One, you work there. Okay. And by the way, it's a great experience, by the way. I'm not picking on it because that's one we liked. It was actually experiential. We had fun there. This is the problem. That's what we do as tourism. We don't care about cities, towns, and counties. And economic development agencies are even worse. They go out and promote buildings, lands, and infrastructure. And I don't know why this thing is not working. There you go. Number 5, never ever use focus groups. If you all got together and say, what are we going to brand Liverpool, or the people in Liverpool, or Shelburne, or any one of these other ones, you know, people are going to say, oh yeah, well, we have something for everyone. I mean, you will never come to a consensus. And number 6, you never roll out your brand until you deliver on the promise. And I'm going to close with a little video that demonstrates that. And number 7, great brands always start with a plan. And this is how you do it. There's a step-by-step process that you do. And it's actually a 13-step process, but I'm going to give you the 5 steps. Here's what you do. You discover where you are today, and I'm going to give you this. This is your baseline. This is what I'm doing here today. And so this is where you're going to start. It is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Number 2, ask the locals. What do we want to be known for when we grow up here in Liverpool? I'm just using Liverpool as an example. What do we want to be known for? You're going to get a whole list of ideas. But you ask. It's important to ask. Then number 3, you figure out, of all these ideas, which one makes the most sense? And it doesn't have to be tourism. By the way, let me tell you one thing that's really important. Anybody who tells you that tourism is not economic development is absolutely dead wrong. Tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. Anybody who's going to set up a new industry, buy that factory in Liverpool or whatever's going to happen there, they're all going to come here. Site selectors, commercial realtors, they're all going to come here first as what? A visitor. Is this the place I want to live? My employees want to live, that I can invest in, that I can make money in. Does that have good schools? It's all, and tourism is the quality of life thing. It's the photographs, it's the quality of life issues. So don't let anybody tell you that tourism is that. But which one makes the most sense? And then you develop the action plan. And then number 5, you go out and sell it. You never go back and say, well, hey, we want to be the antique capital of Nova Scotia, and then say, is everybody okay with that? You will never, you'll be back there, well, we have something for everyone. So, that's what you need to do. I'm going to give you some quick little case histories. I'll try to do this quick. This is St. Albert, Alberta. You know what it is? It's a bedroom community next to Edmonton. Highest taxes in Alberta is what it's known for. Pretty good, huh? But you know what they say? It's worth it. And I don't know why this thing is doing this. They decided to become the Botanic Arts City. And that is what their logo looks like. Cultivate life. And so you know what they did? Their posters look like this. Cultivate your own masterpiece. Cultivate the musician in you. Cultivate the chef in you. But their whole theme is around the botanic arts. Somebody had to do it. You know, and this is all through their downtown, in their library, in City Hall, everything, all these posters about cultivating life. And you know what happened? And there it is, Cultivate Your Dreams in St. Albert, right there. And so they even have their brand promissory on kiosks right downtown. And you know, if you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk, right? They're the Botanic Arts capital, so the city did a cool thing. They said, you know what, if you beautify your shops, we'll pay up to 50%, up to $2,500. So if you spend $5,000, we'll pay half of it. So this guy said, I'm going to do that. He changed the name and then did some beautification. That's after. His sales went up 400%. Curb appeal sales. So the moral of the story is, if you talk the talk, you must walk the walk. And prior development is, and so there's a nursery there called Holtz. It's the whole family. Lois Holtz is a provincial legislator there, bless her soul. And Holtz went and built a $130 million nursery and outdoor living center in St. Albert. Employs 400 people year-round. Now they're building a 200-room hotel there, hopefully. And the whole town is taken off because of this. A guy, the mayor was out on a bicycle, why not? And all of a sudden he saw the cedar fence was all painted with floral designs. So he walked up to the lady's house, and walked up to the house of the lady answered the door. He says, I'm the mayor, Nolan. Nolan drops his name, and he said, who did your fence? And he goes, oh, a guy from Toronto heard about our Botanic Arts brand and moved his business here, and that's what he does for a living. When you stand for something, people are going to come there because you're part of what they do. Something for everyone isn't going to attract anybody. So it works. Alpena, Michigan. And this one's kind of cool. Claim to fame. There it is. Home of the only freshwater marine sanctuary in North America. The challenge is everybody's on the other side of the state. But this side is such a great place. We call it Sanctuary of the Great Lakes. You cannot take this because I gave it to the Eastern Shore. Can you imagine? I told them, you know what? Rather than Eastern Shore, can you imagine Nova Scotia's Sanctuary Coast? You lose your cell service out there. So what? This is a sanctuary. You're turning lemons into lemonade. I told them Liscombe Lodge should be the Sanctuary Inn, and you need to recruit a spa in there. It should be an eco-resort. You know, it can be open year-round. You know, wouldn't it be cool if you could go out to someplace like that in January after Christmas and everything? You go out there and you curl up in front of a fireplace with a good book, and it's a sanctuary. Total peace and quiet. Bob Buck over here, works for Nova Scotia Tourism. He went out there the other day, and you saw how many cars? 2. Why are you being so quiet?
He's listening.
Okay. Yeah. And I saw 6. But you know what? The sanctuary coast. See what I mean? You need to sell a feeling, not a location. And so with them, this is where they are. They're way over there. They're on Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Well, that's great, but it's really seasonal. That's a problem you have here. You know, and they have all these shipwrecks and everything. And so we thought, wouldn't it be cool if the Liscombe Lodge should be the Sanctuary Inn and Resort? Wouldn't that be, look at it, doesn't it look like a sanctuary? I mean, you know, wouldn't it be cool if they could do this there? This is what you need to do. This is the art of branding. I thought, couldn't you do all these kind of sanctuary retreats along the Eastern Shore? How cool is that? Nobody else in Nova Scotia can do that because it has the least traveled roads. It's perfect for them. And so could you do that? You know, wouldn't it be cool? The holidays, you know, this is all the time. They could be year-round. They really could. That's what you need to do. What can you do to stretch your seasons? All of these kinds of things. All of this could be part of that. This is what they did in Alpena. This is my sanctuary. You can define your own sanctuary. This is my sanctuary. You know, in Alpena, they don't even allow motorized sports. They actually passed a bylaw, no motorized, no snowmobiles, no ATVs. They are in upstate Michigan, so they're more severe weather than Nova Scotia. I mean, you don't have that severe weather. It's just a perception. But this is my sanctuary. Somebody could define their sanctuary and go to Alpena. They could go to the Eastern Shore and do it. The city's done it. Everything's doing it. They're doing a square in their downtown now called the Sanctuary Inn. How cool is that? It was a Holiday Inn before that. This is what their vehicles are going to look like. They just started doing this. And I said, Eastern Shore, you can do this. Oh, let's see if it didn't work. Crap. I was hoping that this would play a little video I got there. Let's see if this will do this. Let me just hit the little play button and see if it'll play. Nope, it didn't play. Okay, there's a little video there. Find your greatest asset, find a way to leverage it. I'll give you one more, Devon, Alberta. 6,300 people. It's a bedroom community off of Edmonton. We do a lot of work in Edmonton. Claim to fame, Imperial Oil, the first planned community in Canada. Woohoo! Does that make you want to go there? It doesn't even make the people in Edmonton want to go there. And by the way, the people in Imperial Oil want to come home to something else besides Imperial Oil. And they decided, their challenge was, what is there, the brand, everything. They decided to become Biketown, Alberta. And it's not mountain biking, it's street biking. They've got all these hills down on the river and everything. And they decided, let's just intake it. And so they did this. Look at their tagline. Grab life by the handlebars. Is that fun or what? And so that's what they did. Oh, yeah. Love that. There you go. There's a quote for you. They're doing billboards like this and this. You know, the first one already went up. They did the tour of Alberta this summer. And they went into all the big cities. Edmonton, Calgary, you know, went clear up to Banff and Red Deer and all those communities, and you know what? They could not overlook Devon. Stage 2 started there. A little town of 6,300. All their wayfinding is going to look like this. All their trail signs is going to look like this. They've got Gear Grinder Hill. They've got all these cool things. Their website looks like this. They've got their calendar of events, and they all wear all the logo gear. I mean, it has worked. The moral of the story is you have to be first or different. They're not the only place of biking, but they went out and claimed it. By the way, biking is the fastest growing hobby in North America. Somebody's going to claim it in Nova Scotia. Well-branded communities. You want the scenic route, have a trail. I mean, that's what people are going to think. Kaylee's, Nabu, the Kaylee Trail. Even though you have it, and other places have it, Nova Scotia wine's probably Annapolis Valley. And yes, we do want them to come down here to Petit Riviere Winery and things like that, but you know what? They've got like 9 or 10 up there. Scallops, Digby. The challenge was I went to Digby and I said, so where can I buy some Digby scallops? See? And even the restaurant said, well, I think our scallops are Digby. If you own a brand, you better deliver on the promise. Skyline Trail, maybe you could say, oh, the Balancing Rock at Digby. Signature Lighthouse, probably Peggy's Cove, provincially. I mean, it is the iconic thing, like Seattle has a Space Needle, St. Louis has a arch, you name it. That's probably it. Petit Riviere, Art and Wine, Chester, you know, the Cape Cod, Acadian, probably Lower Pubnico, or some people say no, Shed Camp. I mean, you know, lots of people can claim it. Lunenburg World Heritage Site, maybe, was it German, Dutch, whatever the ancestry is there. Those kinds of things. Mahone Bay, Art Food, it's more upscale, that's what it's seen. And those are, you know, and here's what doesn't work. Now move on. Static displays. Can't build a brand of static displays. It's not sustainable. So there you go. Famous residents on yesteryear, same thing. So, who is it? Hank Snow? Once I've been in there, I've been there and done it. Why would I come back? That's the challenge. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but think about it from a visitor's point of view. And by the way, how's that working for you? See what I mean? Those are the hard questions you have to answer. You know, there it is. There's what I told them. What's your brand the other 363 years? And your location. How many of you have been to Truro because it's the hub of Nova Scotia? See what I mean? You don't care. You can fit anyone in your market, Carson, start over, and everyone in Nova Scotia has these things. I mean, you know, we've been finally museum down in Nova Scotia. Best friends are going private sector development. You know, think all those places. You know, Hershey Chocolate, that's private Detroit Car, Santa Fe, you know, American Art down there, Orlando, I mean, all of those. I could do Canadian towns too, you know, all of these. And when you do this, as soon as you get home, you need to start right away. What do you want to be known for, Liverpool? What do you want to be known for, Shelburne? So that means right away. And I actually have a whole video series. I've got this library on there that has the 10 things you need to know about branding and step-by-step guide. You can do it yourself. You don't need to have us do it. You need to find a focus. Number 4, you need some critical mass. If you want to be on that list of best towns in Nova Scotia, you need to have the 10-10-10 rule. This is a minimum of what you need in 3 lineal blocks. 10 places that sell food. And by the way, don't have to be 3 square blocks, 3 little blocks. It can be a block this way, this way, and this way. You don't even have to be in a straight row. You can't go in a straight row in Chester, you know, because that's where the roads are. It doesn't matter, just in that little area. You need to have 10 places that are destination retail shops. This is why La Have and some of those. Now you may say, well, wait a second, you went into Bear River, you call it, because the experience outweighed the 10-10-10 rule, Halls Harbor. But in all these other towns, they had this. And here, by the way, here's the third 10. And even these towns were struggling on that. 10 places open after 6 p.m. And you wonder why people stay in Halifax. They come down for a day trip. The mall mentality, assistant hours and days, open late in the evening hours, light businesses grouped together. I mean, keep going through that thing. That's what you need to do in towns. Get the mall mentality. Liverpool needs to do it. Shelburne needs to do it. I'm not so worried about the smaller towns, but those main ones do. You know, think about this. Why do antique malls? Why do they all gather together? People are drawn to critical mass, like that place I showed you, Jefferson, Texas. Auto malls. Did you know auto malls do 7 times the business when they group together? Why would Chevy want to be right next to Toyota, Subaru, and Ford? Because they do more business together. I mean, think about the corner gas stations. You know, why is it why you see Tim Hortons and Wendy's and McDonald's and Jack in the Box on all 4 corners? People are drawn to critical mass. Food courts in the malls. I mean, that's how it works. You know, how many of you know Argyle Street? Everybody? You know, we had our hand in that one a little bit. There was lots of vacancies, hodgepodge mix. The challenge is, what the challenge was, and I don't know why it's not showing up there. The challenge is, why would we bother to go up the hill from the waterfront? It's not exactly level. And if you've hiked up that hill, you know what it is. It's not easy. But you know what? The guy down here in the open restaurant figured out, I mean, we have all these vacancies, nobody's here, though. We're revitalizing the waterfront. The waterfront's a great destination. He actually took it on himself to go out and start recruiting more and more restaurants here. Went to the city and said, hey, city, we don't mind losing all the parking if we can create outdoor dining so people can walk around. Very homemade. It's up, you know, probably taking it down. They're taking it down yet? Some of them are just coming down right about now. But they went and did this. And by the way, along Argyle Street, did you know there's 22 restaurants in 2.5 blocks? I mean, and it's very homemade. It's not, you know, really flashy and everything, but you know what? It works, and I love it. I stay at the Prince George Hotel because they can walk to Argyle Street and have 20 restaurants to pick from. You know, and so you think, I mean, it's pretty cool what they do. And they just store it all in the winter for snow removal and everything. But it's a great dining destination. People are drawn to the critical mass. You know, this is down the road to Five Fishermen, and it's starting to spread all through Halifax. All through down. Now look at that, how steep it is. Look what they did. That's pretty cool. And you know, this is looking out of the Prince George Hotel. The result, 22 restaurants in 2.5 blocks, a major gathering spot rivaling the waterfront. It's a place to hang out. It's a third place. Restaurants are doing very, very well, and convention center is on the way. They've dug the pit, now they're starting to build it. Here's the bottom line. I went to the guy in Ola last summer and said, you know, you started this whole thing, I don't know when and everything. You have 21 competitors. He said, Roger, I own 4 of them. And another guy owns 3. And he said, I'm doing 10 times the business I ever did, even with my open. Wow. People are drawn to the rule of critical mass. Sometimes you have to orchestrate the effort. So, back to business here. We're in Liverpool. I have no idea. Now, Maud Lewis, is she an author? Who's Maud Lewis? An artist. Okay. I recognize the name, but I couldn't quite place it. But I don't know what I'm seeing here. I mean, we can't walk in there. We can look over the fence. I have no clue what this is. And so we went over these people and said, we don't know either. But, you know, we're looking over the fence of these buildings, and we don't know if you can go in them, if you can't go in them.
The other thing about Maud Lewis is there's a display in Liverpool, but there's also a display in Debe.
Oh, is
Maud
there?
Lewis House in Debe as well.
Okay.
So it's,
But once again, you know, hanging your hat on some, you know, have you ever heard of Becky Scott? She was a gold medal Olympian cross-country skier. I was working in Vermilion, Alberta. And they said, we're the home of Becky Scott. It's the, you know what you're doing? And so I was over in Canmore. And I said, by the way, is Becky here? And said, no, but her parents still live here. And I said, so every time visitors coming down, do the parents come out and wave? I mean, you know, and I said, well, they probably would if you asked them. So I said, Canmore, you know, Canmore, Alberta. And I'm telling this story in front of 200 people there, and all of a sudden the whole audience cracks up. And I'm saying, what's so funny? Bonnie and Port. And this girl goes, hi, Roger, I'm Becky Scott. I live here in Canmore. I said, you stole your hometown's brand. So we did see this right next year. I'm not too sure whether it's open to the public, whether it's a museum, or whether you go in there and then that allows you to go outside. It didn't look totally inviting. And it says it's more of a cultural center, so I don't know if it's open, if it's more of a civic center, if it's just a community center. I have no idea what it means.
it's a museum.
It's a museum. Really? It's really obvious. I mean, you know, and so we didn't know. That's what I mean. By the way, it must have been pretty windy there. That happens. We saw this. Now, it says open there. It says open there. There's no beautification. We got falling down planters right here. We've got lots of weeds along here. We got the great fire hydrant. Love that. Would you go in?
Tasted the beer.
But here's the point. I walked up to the door and it was locked. Because I was there on Tuesday and I was there on Wednesday and they still have their open signs up and they're only open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Your merchants have to get it. And this one doesn't. It looks like somebody that went out of business. Did see it there. Speaking of Hank Snow, great place, great museum. And, you know, it looks great. But, you know, once we've been there, we've done it. And so we're eating, you know the restaurant right across the street from this? There's a restaurant kind of right across the street or kind of near this, somewhere over there in Liverpool. I don't know where it is. It has a back row patio. We ate there, right? What's that? Lanes? Yeah, that sounds right. And so we did see this cross street. I thought Liverpool Adventure Outfitters Limited. Here's my question. Can I rent kayaks there? Or can they take you out on guided tours? Or do they just sell them? We have no clue. There's nothing there that says anything. So they're missing, I don't know how much sales they're missing because of that. And then we were surprised at how little the waterfront is developed in Liverpool. I thought, wow, what a beautiful waterfront. And it's just not really, you know, really developed. And maybe there's plans for that. And you see the backs of the building, some of them have nice murals on them and stuff, but we just thought, wow, what a great place. So then we were driving around, we came upon White Point Resort. And we saw the sign right here and saw all this that looked really good. We saw the White Point Vacation Club. And so I called Becky, my assistant. She's been with me for 14 years. I said, when you were booking all the reservation stuff, why didn't you stay at White Point? And she says, well, when I was online looking and everything, it said it was a timeshare resort. And it's not. I mean, they have some timeshare here, but somehow on the web or somewhere, and I don't know if she went to their website or she went to TripAdvisor or somewhere, and then she goes, well, I didn't book it because we thought it was a timeshare resort. When we drove up, that's what we thought. And it was just, you know, and it's beautiful. I mean, we just went, my gosh, that's why I called her. We drove right up here. This is in July. And I went, my, this looks really nice. And it's great. And so we did go down the list here, and this is what people do And it's rated number 2 right there. Elegant, out of the way retreat. That was nice. Facilities and views are nice. That's how important TripAdvisor is. And by the way, what visitors do is they'll go down here and they'll click on the terrible ones. I mean, it's not fair, but that's what we do. In my case, I click on the terrible ones. If somebody had a bad experience with a person, I'm not going to throw away the resort. Because that's always a challenge. If they complain about the rooms, the beds, those kinds of things, then I'm going to have second thoughts. And so it's really important to respond to your reviews. And it's very important. You can't be defensive, but you need to respond to the reviews. Because sometimes you might say, well, we have some really rustic cabins, you know, and that is a little different experience than what we have somewhere else. And by the way, I know they're in the middle of refreshing the resort right now. And by the way, TripAdvisor has a deal. So for the people at White Point, if you have a facility that totally started over, you had to redevelop what you did when this burned down, they will erase any previous reviews, just so you know. So when you rebuild this, there may be some reviews in there that are 3 years old from what it was before, and I wasn't here then. And now you can go back and say, by the way, we got the receipts and everything. This book that burned clear down to the ground, we rebuilt it. And they'll say, okay, well, erase everything out. We're a new resort. Just so you know. Just FYI. Cabins look great, and they are going through a refresh right now, which is great. I think, right, it's just about ready to start. We drove down here, and we saw all of this, and we did not know whether if I am not staying at the resort, can we do these things, or is this only for resort guests?
You can pick up a day pass from the company's office.
Right there. Right there you should say, not a guest, pick up a day pass at the front desk. Always make it really easy. So somewhere do that. That just be a really easy sign. If you're not a guest here, pick up a day pass. And enjoy all of our amenities. Cool. That's a great, I'm glad to do that. So, we saw Lakeside Hall, I'm not too sure what it is. I don't know, you know, if you do conferences or whatever, but no big deal. So we did too. We thought it was very nice, by the way. We thought White Point was nice. And it's great. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to stay up in Liverpool tonight, and I said, you know, I called my sister, I'm going to stay at White Point. So, it's been nice. And so we drove around more, and everywhere we did find, we drove all, look at where we're driving. I mean, we're driving every single coastal road we can possibly find. We keep driving, we came to the quarterdeck. Fantastic curb appeal. Here's what you have to understand. Here's a statistic for you. 70% of first-time sales come from curb appeal. Have you ever said this? You all travel. Have you ever said these words? That looks like a nice place to eat. That's what you have to understand. 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. And they have curb appeal in spades. You know what? Every single time we went by here, it was never going to work out for lunch or dinner. So you know what we did? We made a special trip to have dinner at the quarterdeck. And by the way, it was really good. You know, and I did go down here. This is what we do. This is what people do. Southwest Nova Scotia Hotels going down there, Lunenburg, Swindler's Cove, Lake Lawn, down here, Digby Pines. Holy smokes, we're getting all the way down here. Where the heck is that one? Lighthouse Hotel, Rose Lawn. We're down to number 11. Quarterdeck Beachside with number 12 of 56. And then what we would do is click on it. But you know, I was surprised it's number 12 considering it's got all good reviews. And then we look down there and we look at and see, and when somebody had kind of a less than, nature at its best, they're really great. 86% of people trust peer reviews, only 35% trust advertising. 86%. And so that's what we look for. And so it looked like a beautiful place. Just really nicely done. And so we did go there. We did have dinner there. It was awesome. The food was really, really good. And so the best Nova Scotians, getting back to that, we had to add them on the list. So, Shelburne. Went to Shelburne. First thing we did is we found the Visitor Information Center. And so we went down there, we found the visitor, got out, went in, and the big deal we were doing is looking for a place to eat. And it was really cool. The guy said, you know what, I'll tell you where my personal favorite place is. He didn't worry about the politics. He didn't worry about, oh man, the man that was working there really thought about, this is a guest. I should be honest with them and just tell them, here's where I would eat. And I'll tell you about
He's gonna
that.
be fired.
He got fired?
He will be if they catch him doing it.
Oh, good. Awesome. Well, he did. So don't go around firing anybody. He was really great. And I don't know how many guys work there. You probably know he's one. I'm glad I didn't say terrible, man. I was really good. No, he was really good. Really good. One thing that's really important, once again, you've got lots of flyers and everything here, but I want you to do some outdoor brochures and stuff, little holders, so that it's always working around the block. Great job right there. Here's our challenge. We had no clue about Dock Street. We're right here, I'm looking out there and said, we wonder what's down there. So even right here would be a little deal. And by the way, I quit calling it a museum complex. That sounds boring and awful. It's historic Dock Street. The whole street is a museum. That's the way I would sell it. And so we didn't know what was going on, but I thought, you know, a little sign here to say historic Dock Street would just point us down there. We went down there just because we were curious. Otherwise, we would have never known. And I'll get to that why in a minute. And so we saw this museum complex, and you have these museums, and it's adults $10, children free, and all this stuff. Visit one museum, and of course we bought the whole thing. I would just sell them all. I mean, maybe, I can't imagine somebody come and say, well, I only want to see one. I don't, maybe some do, you know, better than I do. But you know what? It's Dock Street. It's historic Dock Street. It's one museum. That's what I would do. You know, so we went there. There was other visitors there. This Dory shop was just plain awesome. Talk to him, you know who he is, and great guy, I can't remember his name. Milford. And he was really great. He talked about building these. I mean, when he was done, I was ready to buy one. By the way, you can buy one. They're like $4,000. They're really cool. And but he was, I mean, he did such a good job talking about it there, kept us engaged, and I mean, these people do it because they love it. And it was just really a great experience there. I mean, obviously it needs some paint and things like that, and that's a challenge, you know, when money's tight and things like that, but just stunningly beautiful. The waterfront, and we were there when it wasn't great weather, you can tell it was pretty wet and rainy and everything. And so we have a couple ideas for you. This is me getting out on a limb a little bit. We thought this was great for the kids. Thought it was just awesome. That was really cool. You know, sea monsters and stuff that they could really grasp onto. Love the museum. I wouldn't call it that, but I like the ticket. You know, the idea where you can go in and all over the place, but you know what I mean? Just make it one. Just make the whole thing a museum and share the revenues and, you know, and we did see these, and these look like historic buildings, and so here's my question to my wife. Do we need to go back and buy more tickets, or are these off limits? Because these weren't on those 3 museums. But they look like they're historic buildings and stuff. The Osprey Art Center, we didn't know. Do we have to pay to go in those? Are they open to the public? We had no idea. Still don't have any idea. And so we thought, well, maybe you have to go back and buy a different set of tickets from somebody else. See what I mean? You should just make it one experience. And I have no idea whether those are open to the public or not. We saw all of these. Are these for rent, or are these all just privately owned?
It's a fleet. They got a kids sales training program.
And can guests and stuff do it during the summer? If we want to say, hey, we want to say, no, it's just for locals? Okay. So that's fine. What's that?
Like a parade. It's our parade.
Oh, okay. That's it. And so that's totally fine, but I just thought, wow, what if they do sailing lessons? It would be fun to go out there and sail one of these little boats and, you know, just for an afternoon. So it might be a business opportunity for somebody. And so we did see the Osprey Art Center. And so I walked up the stairs, and there's people inside, and I opened the door, and they said, can we help you? I said, is this open to the public? She goes, no. But I didn't know, you know, I don't know what these are.
That was the bar for the yacht.
Oh, okay. So that's why they were kind of like, okay. But see, but I was wondering, where's this art center?
It's in the back of the building.
In this way?
That way.
There's no air. But do you understand my confusion? I thought it was in here somewhere. And so we did see these, and you know what I would do? I would take all these streets, and I would turn them papers. You know what I would do? I would say that after 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning, there's no cars allowed down there. Transport people back in time. Let them walk all those buildings. And I would make that pavers rather than asphalt, and the asphalt's in pretty bad shape anyway, but I've got a way that's less expensive than taking out the street and putting in pavers. I'll show you in a second. But I just thought if these pavers basically extended all the way across here, I would even get rid of modern signs. I would make everything look like you went back a century. I mean, so you could live the experience because of all the buildings there, the waterfront, everything. I just thought, wow, that would be such a cool experience. If you ever want to see one like that, go to Plymouth Plantation in Massachusetts, where they actually have they're dressed in period clothes and everything. Huge success, but I would do that. You know, and I can understand cars going there for deliveries and stuff like that, but once you're open during the day, I would say no cars down here. And I'm just getting wild ideas, and these are just suggestions.
Did you notice no power lines?
No, yeah, I did notice that, and I thought that was cool. And I noticed it, I didn't notice it when we were there, but I noticed it when I was doing the photos. I said, this is cool. Because that's the challenge we've always had in Lunenburg. You can't take a good picture without all the power lines getting in the way. And so I just thought it was really, and granted, back in the day, we probably did have power lines, who cares? We're there for the architecture, the feeling of it, the Dory shop. I mean, all the buildings look phenomenal. Cooper's Inn. I thought this was so great. How cool is that? Now you may say, well, Roger, in the old days they didn't have chalkboards. Who cares? So we don't want, I don't want to be a stick in the mud. That's great. We just want to get the cars out of there, so it's just a pedestrian feeling that takes you back in time. I thought those were really great. Sumptuous breakfast, best value in Shelburne, very well written, all with a private bath. That's what you have to do. By the way, if any of you have B&Bs, there's three things. We want access on our terms, not your terms. We want private baths, and we want internet access. Just ask those things. What's that?
Paying for it.
Paying for what?
The private bath.
The private bath? Well, I don't know who's paying for it here. I mean, but people will pay. Just so you know, 4% of people stay in B&Bs. And it's not growing beyond that. And the reason is people want independence. They don't want to say, well, gee, I have to be back in at such and such a time and all that. We want our privacy, we want our private baths. So if you have those things, make sure you promote them, because it gets rid of the resistance factor. And so, of course, we looked here, and there it is, 113 reviews. Cooper's Inn right there. Look at that. Excellent. 82. Very good. 24. 6 average. There was only 1 4. I can't remember. No terribles. Lovely B&B by the water's edge. When these come from guests, that's really awesome. This whole thing, we loved it. Even coming up some of the side streets, what the houses are doing there, were just really transported you back in time. I mean, it was just incredible. We have no idea what this is. There's no signs, there's no information. There's a guy out there throwing the ball to his dog and everything, but it's a really cool building. And I think if you had an interpreter sign that just told about it, would be kind of cool. Explain why it's up on stilts and what it used to be or what it is. I have no idea. What is it?
Movie set.
Oh, it's a movie set. For what movie?
Scarlet.
Scarlet Letter.
You should put that out there. People be taking pictures like crazy.
No, it's a movie.
Oh, did it? Is that the one with Danny Moore?
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw it.
So much.
That's where the farmer's market is now.
Okay. Well, there you go. Put a sign there that said this used to be part of the set for Scarlet Letter. It's now our great farmer's market. When's your farmer's market? Saturdays? There's no signs or anything. See what I mean? You need to do it, and we'll come back and say, man, we should come back to the farmer's market this Saturday. Always create reasons to bring people back. We noticed many buildings in pretty sad shape. We go, oh, please, I hope somehow get some funding to repair these, because you can just see, I mean, they don't last. These are wood structures. What's that? This was? Look at this. I mean, it's just awesome. So, oh, by the way. So, the guy said, you should go eat at Charlotte Lane. And here's how to walk there, and so we did there. And so, by the way, this is Street Print. They're based out of Surrey, British Columbia, Vancouver area. They do a cool thing, and I want to show you this. This is before asphalt. That's after. That's what you can do. It's like $6 a square foot. So you don't have to go rip out all the street. They actually stamp the asphalt with whatever design you want. It can be red brick or whatever, so it's an inexpensive way, because I'd like to get the asphalt out of there somehow. So if there ever is a grant or something to do, take people back in time.
What was the name of the company again?
Street Print. So if you look up, there it is, Street Print. Or if you look up the words Dura Therm, Turatherm or something like that. That is their process. But if you look up streetprint.com, .ca, I think you'll find it. And look through all their different ones. And you see, but it's just kind of a cool way to stamp in the asphalt and give you the ambience that you want. Does it make sense? Absolutely, we had to have historic Dock Street. I would not use museum complex, I call it historic Dock Street. And so we did go into Charlotte Lane. It was awesome. And what's her name? Kathleen? That's Jane. Thank you, Bob. It's gonna be who my wife is. And Kathleen back here. And it turns out there's these CDs there and everything. Said, well, let's look at it. She goes, yeah, that's me, her and her singing partner and everything. And they were doing a concert that Saturday, and we wish we could have stayed. It was right there. And I wish we could have stayed for that or come back, but it just didn't work in our schedule. Love the way it was decorated and everything. The food was good. It was just a cool setting, and we just absolutely loved it. By the way, we bought two. I think they only have two CDs. We bought both of them. We were playing them the whole rest of our trip. They're great. And so absolutely you got to add that. But do you see what's going on here? We are actually promoting businesses. That is the heart and soul of tourism, is business. This is economic development. So downtown Shelburne, this shocked us. You have this absolutely, and not in a good way. You have this absolutely tremendous historical district, and then your downtown is like dead. And I was just shocked. I was going, my gosh, this should be like Mahone Bay or Lunenburg or something. I mean, the architecture's there, everything's there. We have no idea what happened. We have no, remember, we're visitors. And we just went, oh my gosh, for what this town has. We were just really surprised at downtown. And once again, maybe we don't have a focus. You know, and that may be it. By the way, locally they also said Bistro 138. We didn't have a chance to eat there because we ate Charlotte Lane instead. But it looked pretty cute from the outside, we were a little unsure, but locals said, remember, another great place is Bistro 138. And so, you know what, even though we didn't eat there, and we did look at the reviews, we said, you know what, you gotta add it. So we did. We thought it was worth adding. And you may say, Roger, it's not really that good. I don't know. But it is good, isn't it? That's what I thought. We heard from many people that said it was. You know, and here's our problem. Tell me where Dock Street is. I know, you know where it is, but can you read the signs? Can you read that right there? You remember the trees in the shade next to a bunch of billboards and stuff, or sandwich boards? That's why we missed it. We didn't know it was down there. And even right here, you can kind of see welcome to historic Dock Street, but it's in small letters, back into the tree, and I'm right here standing on the corner with a telephoto lens. That's why we missed it. We did see this sign, museum complex, and going, oh my gosh, more museums. How many museums do you have on the southwest coast? Sure. See what I mean? And that was our deal. But if we said historic Dock Street, we would have gone there in a heartbeat. So, you need a critical mass there too. You know what we're talking about. And by the way, we also look at these navigation systems and everything, looking for things in boy. And by the way, this is in miles, not kilometers. You know, Thomas Rattle, you know, all of these Acadian Museum. And you need to work with these people. 20% use navigation systems, but it's growing at 10% a year. That means in 2 years, 50% of people use navigation systems. I use a little Garmin Newbie. 60% of the items on a navigation system are incorrect. Because they can't control when a business goes in and out, and there's millions of businesses in the US and Canada and around the world. And so here's what I want you to do to fix these. You know, I'll tell you a funny story. I was right smack in front of the Listcombe Lodge. They have a restaurant inside. And I typed in restaurants, nearest restaurants. The nearest one was all the way back in Sheet Harbor. It didn't even list any in Shelburne. It didn't list a Listcombe Lodge restaurant. And so here's what you do. For any of you, if your B&B, your attraction, your restaurant, your whatever is not represented, because White Point Inn is not on my Garmin Newbie. It's not there under hotels or accommodations at all. Luckily, I knew what the address was. I typed it and found it. So this is what White Point would do. you would go to Navtech. It's navtech.com with a Q there. And it's actually, I'm going to give you a better website address in a second. And up there on the top, it says Map Reporter, report map changes. And what you do is you go there and you do that. So here's what I want you to do. You get volunteers to go through there, like I did. Pick up the list of attractions, what's missing, what should be added, what restaurants, accommodations, what needs to be taken away because they're no longer in business, whatever it is. And have volunteers go do that for all of these things. And Navtech handles the maps for Garmin, Lowrance, Endrive. There we go. And they do the web-based applications, as Yahoo Maps, Bing, Nokia, MapQuest, and they do radio for XM and Sirius. So Navtech is by far number one. They update them every month. Now, if I have a Garmin Nuvi, I only get the update when I plug into my USB and pay for an update, usually once a year. Or a vehicle that has a navigation system built in, it's usually like once a year when you take it in or replace a DVD. But these update every month. And you can report the changes that need to be made. And so that's something you need to do because a lot of times we missed a lot of what you had because they're just not correct. And so, figures. So now I'll go through the list again. And radio. And then its main competitors are Google, IntelliAtlas, and once again, it's not going to do this, is it? Oh, there we go. TomTom provides data for TomTom, and Apple's iOS 7 now. I need to probably change that. And then Google Maps provides its own data. I put date. I'm going to change that. You can tell I was tired. And the proper URLs. Here you go. Is it not? And so let me go back to that. There you go. Navtech. It's mapreporter.navtech.com. And by the way, this will be in the report, so you don't have to be taking notes like crazy. We'll provide you all this, but that's how you do that. And it's something you really need to do because there's a lot of inconsistency in Nova Scotia. And by the way, you're not alone. They're not picking on Nova Scotia. It's prevalent everywhere. That's the problem. And so, we've done Shelburne, we've done all this. We had to head out to Kidsapoochie National Park. Do you just refer to it as locally as Keji?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That'll make it easier for me too. Yeah, there's Seaside, right. We did the Seaside, it's already on our best of list, but we decided day 3. So now we spent 2 full days. You know, look at what all we have to offer. We spent 2 days and we're going as fast as we can. We're probably missing a lot of stuff. And so we decided we're going to go out there. So we got up in the morning and went out there. And you know one thing? We didn't expect to find anything on the way out there. We didn't know there was this business. We didn't know there was this. We did go in there and talk to the lady in there for a few minutes. We did see the visitor information there, and I'd been out this way once before, but I forgot there was actual businesses because we were like, before we leave Liverpool, we better stock up on stuff. And so we did see that out there and everything, but we didn't realize the Hallwalk Cafe was out there, and so if you had on our website, on your way to the Kenji National Park, remember, we also have this and this and this and this. So you can stock up on your way to help those businesses. And so we saw the Hall of Cafe, which thought, I hope they do big meals, you know, so you can pull that hall away. You know, but if we saw this little cool place right here, we went, wow, that's really cute. We looked at it. Not very good on that, you know, but it was very good. It got 10 reviews, and you know, and we looked at that. I mean, that's what people do now. We saw the Wilder there. We thought that was great. Nice little shop there. Beautification. You know, just like putting a chair out here, it says welcome. You can't believe how much that does that. Even if nobody ever sits in it, it just says welcome. That's how easy some of this stuff can be. So we went out there, we went in, paid the admission to go into the national park, and once again, they even need to do 24-hour visitor information. You know, I don't know unless the gates are closed or whatever, you know, and if they are, then maybe it doesn't make any sense. And this is, I mean, can you believe this? A major typo on one of the big signs in the park. I mean, what is with that? So I just want to let you know that I went down there when I didn't think anybody was there, and I went ahead and fixed it. Yep, now I feel Actually, I only fixed it in Photoshop. So anyway, great park, great area, it was nice. I mean, this would give the Eastern Shore a run for the Sanctuary brand, but just a beautiful place, beautiful park, and by the way, bring your mosquito repellent. And look at that. I mean, I was like, and this is on a cloudy, foggy day, and look at that, the water's like glass. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Little shop there, and we were the only customers in the park, so she was out reading a book. And we walked around all these little different, we spent a couple hours out there looking at different places. But once again, invite people back. Do they ever do anything here? And if so, put up a little reader board that says every Saturday at 2 o'clock we do an environmental something to get us to come back. But there wasn't any information. And so, and it's the same thing here. It looks like they do campfires or something, people sit around, but there was no information anywhere about it. Always invite people back. And of course, you have to put Seaside, you know, and then, so we're going down our list now. We're starting to get a good list here. And then you got to put that there. Absolutely, absolutely. So, back to the shore. So we came back, is that little up there? Or Shelburne? That's Shelburne. So we came back all the way down and all the way around, staying really close to the shoreline, all the way down, all the way down there. I mean, we logged so many kilometers, it was unbelievable. It's like, man, I'm glad we drive a lot of miles. And so we kept going all the way down, and we went everywhere we could. Went clear down there, made the little loop down there, and we did see this out there. It was so foggy that we thought this was the lighthouse. Because we couldn't see anything, and then we went, oh, there it is. But you know, I had to stand right next to it to be able to see it. I mean, from here back room, we couldn't see the fog was so big. And so we did do that, and then we came up and we drove all the way up there to Barrington. So now we're in Barrington. We did see the Visitor Information Center, the question mark, and that was great. It was great. Good service in there as well. A nice, I can't remember my wife. Actually, I had my wife go into a lot of these because a lot of people knew who I was and knew who I am. And so she went in and said they were really great. And so Old Meeting House Museum right there. And so we pulled this little parking lot. And I'm going, is this the museum or is this a restaurant? What is this? We have no clue. I'm going, Lighthouse Lunch. I wonder if this is a restaurant. There was nobody in there. It was dark in there. I looked in the window. I'm going, well, maybe this used to be a little restaurant or is it a little cafe. I have no clue what it is. I don't know if that's the meeting house. I can see a lighthouse back there. And so I see the Lighthouse Museum. So there it is back there. By the way, we had to walk through the wet grass. There's no real pathway to it. And so, but we did go in. That was pretty cool. We get in there and climb it. And then we left. And then we said, now, is this the Meeting House Museum? Does anybody know? It is. There's no sign on it. There's no pathway from the parking lot over to it, so you have to walk on the street and go up the front stairs. So we didn't know. So we didn't go in. Have to make things obvious. You may say, boy, Roger, you're a dumb tourist. But you have to understand, most visitors are that way. If it's not obvious, we just don't bother. And so you can go in this way, but you know, I didn't want to walk on the street, and there's no real pathway there, and there's no signs or anything that says that's it. We just didn't know. We did see this old courthouse. We don't know if that's a museum or if it's just the old courthouse. And then we did see this. And boy, the river was raging through there. I mean, you can see it. It was like, whoa. I mean, it was unbelievable because it had been raining a lot. And so we did go in there. And one thing I would always say is always put the hours out near the parking. So we don't have to stop, get our car, open up umbrellas, walk over there. Luckily, this door was open, so we could kind of tell. And we went in there, and so that should be out there. Make it obvious and make it easy for people. And it was really cool. I mean, they were in there doing the looms, they were carding wool, they were in there making things. They even had some young kids in there, like in their teens that were actually in there doing the soul school. And I thought that was really cool to see the youth involved in it. And so we absolutely had to include it on our list of great places. So, remember what I said we've been everywhere in Nova Scotia? You want to see my last list? So I'm going to give you the list. These things are all already started and popping up now. And so, of all these places we've been, we finally made a list of the 12 best tourist attractions in Nova Scotia. Historical attractions, excuse me. Historical attractions. And this is our picks. Now, we did not include in Halifax, like the Citadel in Halifax. So this is out of Halifax, Dartmouth area. Okay? But out of those, these are our 12 picks for the best historical attractions in Nova Scotia. The Celtic Music and Tourist Center in Judy. You know what's cool about that? You can go in there and watch videos and try to learn how to step dance. I had a new appreciation for step dancing because I couldn't even figure out the first simple one. But it was really cool. It was interactive. It was a great museum. Fisheries Museum in Atlantic and Lunenburg. Great. Fort Anne, Port Royal in Annapolis, Florida. The Fortress of Louisbourg. Grand Prairie National Historic Site in Grand Prairie, that is, for the Acadians. Best Acadian museum, I think, anywhere. Historic Top Street. Le Village Historic Acadian, which I'm going to talk about tomorrow. It was our favorite museum in Nova Scotia. You know where it's at in Lower Republic? You know why? The people that worked there, it was their families and their relatives. This is my grandma's house. How cool is that? Our favorite museum. So, look at how many of these are in the Southwest Shore. Memory Lane, out there in the Eastern Shore. The old woolen mills, look at that. You got 2. Nova Scotia Museum of Industry in Stellarton. How many is that? Okay, I need you guys to keep track. Shelburne Village and Cape Breton Mines Museum in Glasgow. That's our 12 favorite. And we've been in hundreds. And that doesn't mean all the other ones are no good. These are just what we thought were the 12 best. Great places. If you haven't seen all of these, you should. They're really awesome. They're all worth it. We did see Fort St. Louis. We thought, oh cool, we're going to see another, forts and everything. So we did pull in there, we saw this, we go, okay, we walked in there, we saw a field. This was almost as good as the beach meadows. And so it's like, well, okay. So it didn't make the 12 best. No offense. And we did see the Black Loyalist Heritage Society. Here's the point. Always promote the experience first, not the organization. So if it would have said Historical Site Museum or Black History Museum, and don't promote the organization, we probably would have gone in. Well, what happened is we stopped, we could see the people in there, they were chatting and everything. It was like, so we opened the door and they were like in a meeting, and so we just said, sorry to interrupt. We walked out around the grounds, but then we left. And we felt like we were intruding on the people that were in there. And so from Barrington, we kept driving around. We went all the way down Cape Sable Island. Not sure what we're going to see. We did the whole loop around it. You think we've driven enough miles by now? And so we do all of that. We did do Cape Sable Island. We went across the little causeway there. Northeast Point Beach, right here. What is it with you? Everybody knows there's northeast, southwest. Everything is all about geography. And by the way, New Brunswick does it, PEI, everybody does it in the Atlantic province and say, get over it, let's start selling experiences. Another great location for visitor information. We saw Clark's Harbor there, visit our town. We never really saw any place we could spend money in Clark's Harbor. We don't know if we're missing something. And so Stone Church and Sculptor Line, we never saw either one of those. We don't know where they are. They're on a sign, but there was no signs to them. And they didn't show up in our navigation. We saw come and see Cape Sable Cottages. You probably should use this, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 10 kilometers, open all year. I can give you some more information. Make sure you maintain your signs. Here's one thing for you that are in business. We're going to judge the quality of your business by the quality of your signs.